Well, this video, guys, is about how you can make a pretty high quality video just using the very, very basics, just having a camera body and a prime 35mm lens and an ND filter, and away you go. No other forms of equipment, no monopod, no stabilizer, nothing else. And I took this video of this car video that I'm going to show you at the end of this video in about 10 to 15 minutes, 15 minutes max. And it was just a random car in a car park. I saw it and I decided I want to make a video of it because it's a Lotus and I have a Lotus and I have an Instagram channel about Lotuses. So I wanted to capture this car. So I just got my camera, I got my lens out and I did some clips of this car, put it together in a video. Now, I'm going to explain to you how I did that and how I got such a high quality video without using a lot of this equipment that you would normally use to make a better video. Yes, you can make a better video using gimbals and stabilizers, and obviously if you can get the car in an environment that looks much nicer, that's got a lot of greenery around it, or it's at sunset, or it's at sunrise, you're obviously going to get better lighting to get better clips. But I didn't have any of those options. This was just on the spot. I was going to have lunch with my girlfriend, saw the car, took 10 minutes out of my day and captured the video. So let's roll the intro and let's have a talk about how did I use just this minimal gear and capture such a good video. Well, the biggest trick that I used is that I set my camera on to super slow motion. So what that is in my region, we can't shoot at 120 frames per second. We have to shoot at 100 and our base frame rate needs to be 25 because our light frequency here is 50 hertz. And if we start to use the NTSC type frame rates, we get flicker from the light. So we have to align our base rates and our shooting with the frequency of the network because it's in sync, you don't get that flickering. So I had it set at 100 frames per second and I'll put it into a 25 frame timeline. So it's going to be 4 times slower than real life. And that's one of the tricks that you use to get it nice and smooth. And even though it is slow motion, and even though this camera has got IBIS and the lens has got lens stabilization, those sorts of things only make a little bit of well, the slow motion makes a lot of difference, but the in-camera aids don't make that much difference. You can't really go, hey, look, I've got in-body stabilization and it's going to be like a gimbal. It's not. There's a huge jump to putting your camera on a gimbal. I'm a big gimbal fan. I like gimbals, especially for car videos. They're really, really good. But in this case, I didn't have that option. I just had a body and a lens and an ND filter. So I had to make the best of what I had. So what I did is I set it in slow motion and I didn't take any steps. I didn't have any shots where I actually took a step. I'd either just push the camera in, pull the camera out, or I'd just lean across like this from one side to the other with the camera. And you need to move fairly quickly. Make sure you keep the camera level and move very quickly in a plane because you're slowing it up 4 times and it looks nice and smooth, and slow motion always looks really great. So that's what I did. Now, I just went around the car and I just picked key points, detail points on the car, like the headlight and the brake caliper. Had a PB Racing aftermarket brake caliper on it. You've obviously got the name and the labels on the car. You can do a over the top of the bonnet shot, and I just swung the camera like this and tried to keep the arc as neat as possible, and so forth. So you just kind of pick these nice little shots that kind of have some detail in them. It's a lot harder if you've only got one lens, like a 35mm lens, to do a kind of a wide shot, because that's where you really need a gimbal. If you've got something like a longer lens, like an 85mm lens, then you can do something and put it through some bushes or whatever, and you could do it. But I didn't have that on me. I had very limited equipment, so I didn't have those options to get a long shot. So in that video, there's really only one kind of longer shot that I did, where I did a reveal around, I think it was some internet box, you know, those boxes you have on the side of the road, and I just moved from behind that box out, and then the automatic focus focuses the car. So I got that focus pull. So that's all I did. So that is how you do it. And I'll just give you an example of how I use the camera to basically just rock, because you don't want to take any steps. As soon as you take a step, you tend to tilt the camera and like this, and the sensors in the cameras can't handle that. It gives you jitters and that. The sensors, obviously, when you tilt it and you're trying to make it, it's looking this way and that sensor's kind of sitting on those IBIS mounts, that you can get wobbles and all sorts of things. So you want to keep it as clean and smooth as possible as you move it. So the sensor just has to slightly move like this to keep everything and keep those jitters in control. So that's about it, guys. I'm going to play the video for you now so you can see how it turned out. Now, there is quite a bit of editing in it, and that's something that you do really need to learn the skill, and not just timing it with the music, but how you do your transitions, how you color grade, all those sorts of things just lift the level of the video. And that is another video, unfortunately. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.